What up? What up? What up? It's your man Dame DNYDC, host of the Two Mics Up podcast. Big Boom, what's up, my brother? Thank you for joining us this evening. Tonight coming with a King's Corner segment of Two Mics Up. Just me kind of talking and chopping it up from a male perspective. Have Unfortunately, we had one of our guests tonight. Life has its way of jumping up and kind of throwing us that curveball, so he won't be able to join us tonight. But Marcus, thinking about you, hope everything works out for you and your family. And we'll definitely have to work uh, to get you back on a future episode. Yeah, exactly. Boom. No effing doubt. Life sometimes can be a bear. But tonight, like I said, we coming from the King's perspective. And before I really get into tonight's topic, Quan, my brother, what's happening? That's right. We're gonna keep on pushing on, pushing on, and pushing on. I want to take a second to thank our sponsors who are helping put this show together this evening. Without them, two mics up, we wouldn't be able to continue to give the great content that we give to you each and every week. Next Level Keys and Riddick Entertainment. You know, at Two Mics Up, like we always say, we like to support small businesses. Our brother Quan, over at Next Level Keys is a full service credit repair firm that renders optimum services to their customers in all facets and walks of life. It could be qualifying for a mortgage, getting that new car, or getting funds for your business. Contact our friends at Next Level Keys at support at nextlevelkeys.com. Quan is doing big things in the area. Riddick Entertainment. Riddick Entertainment is a multifaceted event firm based here in Northern Virginia. Riddick Entertainment's detailed creativity and precision event planning will give you a truly meaningful and memorable experience. Contact our friends at Riddick Entertainment at info@riddickent.com. Tonight, I am joined by my guest, Mr. Dexter Henry. Dexter, I'm going to go ahead, man. I'm going to let you introduce yourself, man, because this brother is doing a lot of things, man, in the industry. I've been watching and following along. I'm glad that he's taking time out tonight. Dexter, introduce yourself, my brother.
Hey, first of all, Dame, man, I'm really glad to be here. Just honored to be on the show. Also, loved how you kicked off the show, man. I love that there's businesses that are within our community that you're promoting and supporting. So I always think that's a beautiful thing, and I'm glad to hear you, see you doing this as well. So thanks for having me. About myself, sports journalist. I've been working in broadcast journalism for about 15 years. I've done a lot in sports, working from outlets like the New York Post, Daily News, on camera, News 12 networks here in the New York City area. Also covering the Brooklyn Nets for Nets Daily, covering for the New York Giants, doing some on-camera stuff for them. So I've done a lot over the years. I have my own production company, Backpack Broadcasting, you can see here on the shirt. So I've been doing that for a while, producing some of my own content. I host 3 times a week, do an NBA show called the NBA Exchange. For people out there, if you want to check it out, look at the Backpack Broadcasting YouTube channel. Show's called the NBA Exchange, and I also co-host a podcast like my man Dame here called the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. We talk sports and hip hop. So like Dame said, Dame, I do a lot, but we as Black content creators, we got to do a lot. We have to support each other and independently, and that's really important. It's something I'm really passionate about. As much as I love sports, I love seeing us create content and really supporting each other. So once again, thank you for having me, brother. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, man. Definitely my pleasure, my honor. And I agree. That's what Two Mics Up is really all about. We are about educating, empowering, impacting our community in a positive manner. We really look towards our Black and brown members, first and foremost, to really uplift. And on the flip side, on Thursday nights, my co-host and I, we usually have lives. We like to cut it up, act a fool. And this new segment is really a little something, like I said, from a male perspective. And, we like talking sports. And, I want to jump in your wheelhouse because we're going to talk a little NBA.
There we go. That's my wheelhouse, man. That's it.
Exactly. So, before the playoffs and everything, LeBron, King James himself made, comment about, the play-in and this, that, and the third. And unfortunately, looking back, first, that seemed like it came to bite him back in the ass, him and the Lakers. And, they looked old, period, coming down the stretch.
Yeah.
So what's your take on that, though? The whole play-in process, you think that is good? It's something that we should continue with? everybody has their different take on it, but I want to hear yours. As an NBA fan and a man who covers the NBA.
Yeah, so here's the thing, right? Like it seemed like all the players that were anti the play-in were the players once you were below the 6th seed. So if you're in the 7th seed, of course you're not a fan of this, right? Because you got look, it was advantageous for the teams that clearly got the week of rest. And what we saw is all the teams that made it in from the play-in, none of them advanced in the first round. I mean, already was going to be an uphill battle. I think the Lakers had a chance. What really did them in, to be honest with you, Dame, is injuries, right? Like I think if the Lakers were healthy, they wouldn't have been in the position of the play-in tournament. Now, I understand people's point of not liking it. I like it for one thing. I did like that towards the end of the season, it made some games more competitive. It gave you more of a reason to tune in. I'm a league pass junkie, and some of these games mattered more towards the end as teams were fighting in. So from that standpoint, it was good. But I think there was a friend of mine that posted the stat where it was like the teams with the play-in that got him with the play-in, their record was like 5 and whatever, 30 or something.
Crazy number.
Yeah, some crazy number. Like they basically, weren't good. And look, it's an uphill battle just to make it into the play-in tournament. The point being, you talked about looking old, Dame. If you're a veteran team, of course you don't want to. Of course you don't want to play in the play-in. You got tired legs. You've been doing this for a while.
Right.
Like, of course you don't want to do this. You need that extra rest. And what really hurt the Lakers is, I really believe this. If they had that week off to just practice and rehab and get AD right, who we saw wasn't right. And LeBron himself didn't even look right. And LeBron's just getting old. We have to face that fact too.
True. If
they had that week to just game plan and prepare and they were in the 6th spot, I think they might still be playing. The fact that they had to play that extra game against Golden State, which wasn't easy, and they could have lost.
Right.
We have to note that was a tough game for them. I think that, and I see Quan saying, check in. They should have lost that game against the Warriors. And I think that's absolutely fair. They were sloppy with the ball in that game. They were lucky to win that game against the Warriors. So, it just shows that, look, the best thing is availability, right? And the best thing is being healthy going into playoffs. And I like that it gives people something to play for. But if you're the Lakers, you're a veteran team, don't put yourself, you better hope you're not in that position to be around that play-in.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
And that's really what I agree. With Quan, with my man C Boom, he was when he lost his legs. I mean, I watched it when he came back from that injury originally. There was probably about 18, 20 games left. And I can't remember, but the first game he came back, I mean, he just looked totally off. I mean, he was ducking and dodging. I mean, he was putting up shots, but like he was going up expecting it to get blocked. He was expecting for defenders to come out of places that they weren't. So LeBron looked totally off. And I think really too, this iteration of this year's Lakers team, just the depth alone, though, like really, they didn't have those guys. And when I say though, I mean the dogs. Nothing against Andre Drummond and some of the other guys, but when you got Rondo and these other guys, right? Exactly. But it was like he was looking for the fouls and they weren't there. They just look really disjointed and disorganized. And you throw in, like you said, I agree. If they could have rocked that 6th spot and got that 3 or 4 days to, lick their wounds and get themselves together, it might have been a different story. But I don't know where do you see? Because I have a hard time. Everybody. I had a conversation with a friend. This is LeBron's first time losing in the first round, and Michael did it 3 times, and even in that argument,
right?
The 2 different players, 2 different eras, 2 different styles of game. But when we talk about the GOAT, how do you view LeBron? Because I know how I feel about Michael.
Right.
And as a Knicks fan, it's even hard for me to admit.
Yeah, see, me too. I grew up a Knicks fan, so it's hard for me to admit it. But he's the GOAT, man. Like
all day. Okay.
Like you ain't gonna. But with that being said, Dame, I'm not. I'm 38 years old. I'm not going to. I grew up with the Michael Jordan crushing my Knicks, crushing my childhood NBA championship dreams here.
Okay.
But when you go back, and even last year when I was watching The Last Dance, you cannot deny the greatness of Michael Jordan. Now, that is not saying that LeBron isn't great, and I think he's absolutely worthy in being in that conversation, even though people overlook Kareem a lot of the times, which isn't necessarily fair. And Kareem's a little bit before my time, but I've seen enough and I know the numbers and I've watched enough to know that was a bad man out there. No doubt about that. LeBron's right there, right? But I think he just is not, he does not have, what we saw, the dominance of Jordan, what he had in the game, how he crushed, how he transcended the game. And I don't really mean to bring it to things off the court, because we're just talking on the court. Right. But on the court, man, I still have never seen anybody quite like Jordan. LeBron, you go top 3, I'm fine with you putting in. You want to put him number 2? I have no problem with that either. If I understand why people of this generation, people younger than us, Dame, I understand why they are going to elevate LeBron to a certain status, because it's what they've seen. But I encourage the youngsters out there, do your homework, go back and look at the stuff. I went back and looked at stuff with Kareem. I'm a basketball junkie. You can look at, y'all got YouTube now. You can look at the stuff.
Right, you can see all of it.
Yeah, there's no excuse to it. But I think Jordan is the GOAT. I don't think anybody's left the imprint on the game still yet the way he has, in terms of what he could do offensively, defensively, how great he was in the clutch. I forgot who posted the comment. I just saw them bring up the flu game, which to me is still one of the best sporting performances I've ever witnessed. Ever. And I grew up a Knicks fan. You grew up a Knicks fan, Dan, right?
Ever.
It's
hard to say.
We had all the reason to hate. We have all the reason to hate. And
I'm just talking. So this man right here posting. So this is one of my dearest friends, my closest friends in the world. And he's a Bulls fan. And do you know how treacherous and how torturous it was? I had to sit and listen to him run his mouth about MJ and the Bulls. It was sickening and disgusting. And I admitted here, and I agree with you. And all I can say is, when I talk about MJ and LeBron, the only difference, I think, physically and from a total basketball perspective, LeBron has all the tools.
Agreed.
But there's one thing that, for me, that you want that dog. Like MJ, yeah, I'm talking about you, Boone. Yeah, MJ, MJ was a dog. Like, he didn't give a F about your mother.
Nope.
He didn't, and he would put his knee on your neck, and he would let you know that, look, I'm about to break you. Where LeBron, I don't know if it's today's game where everyone wants to be liked and loved. And sometimes when I watch him play, I'm screaming at the TV like, yo, just go hard. But he makes the right basketball play.
He does.
Where sometimes he doesn't demand to be selfish and dominate. And I think for me, that's the only difference for me outside of the rings.
Yes. And
that's the only difference. I think LeBron is a phenomenal athlete. One of those every generation, coming up. I was a big Julius Erving fan. I'm from Roosevelt. So
of course, that's your guy.
That's my guy. My guy. And then you expand, him and David Thompson and George Gervin. Then you had a guy like MJ. Right, exactly. Boone doesn't have that killer instinct. And then MJ took the game to a whole nother level. And have Kobe, may he rest in peace.
Yes.
But LeBron is that multi-dimensional player. IQ can do all, but that killer instinct is what I think drives me nuts. Because I really want him to win. I mean, at the end of the day, I do. As a brother, I want him to win.
Right. There's no hate there. And I think you hit the nails on the head, Dame. Like, he's always made the right basketball play, but then he's sometimes got criticized for passing up the shot and making the right pass, which, as I've gotten older as a basketball fan, I've accepted and been like, that's fine. But I'm like you. See, I like that dog. I like that guy that's like, y'all wanted the end of the game. I love that about Kobe. I was a big Kobe fan. I've always loved that about him. And LeBron's a different player. He's a little bit more to the Magic Johnson side, and his brilliance of handling the ball, running the team, gets the guys in order. I think what you and I are saying is we can appreciate those differences in the brilliance and the greatness, right? And sometimes I get annoyed with the LeBron Jordan debate because, people just like, oh, this is all my guy. There's no nuance to it. Right. And I think that there can be nuance to it while still being like what you and I are saying, was that we think Jordan is the GOAT, even though we are Knicks fans, that we can say that. And that's fine, but we are respecting what LeBron does, and it's just preference and what you might like as a player, and that's totally fine. We're on that same page. We like that dog. Yeah, I wish LeBron had a little bit more of it. Now, he's talking about how he ain't done. He's going to come back next year and all this stuff, and we'll see what he does with that. I'm not really worried about LeBron. If you're to bring it back to the Lakers, Dane, what I'm worried about is, can Anthony Davis stay on the court? We got Charles Barkley calling him street clothes. We can't have that happen.
Right. But and that's what I'm saying. Like, in the essence of the team game and the essence of the sport, and where he is now, like, and again, not to take shots,
Yeah.
LeBron has played with some of the greatest players ever. D Wade, Chris Bosh, Kyrie,
Yep.
Kevin Love, AD. Mike had, I mean, look, he had Robin, and no disrespect to Scotty,
Yep.
but Scotty played his role, the first iteration with Horace Grant, who a lot of people sleep on. I don't know why, because I thought he was great in what he did.
He was.
That bench and on both teams, even when they got Robin in the second run and Kukoc and that whole crew, you know, he pretty much though had one set of, and everybody knew their role. And that's why I said, like, I have a hard time. But like I said, for now, at this stage in LeBron's career, it really is about the periphery players. And it really is about AD and the guys that he puts around him. Because not to say LeBron is still not dominant in his role, but I can't see him playing 82 games every year and then throwing in another 20 in the playoffs and being as dominant as we know. And I think it's going to really be crucial that they continue to surround him with the proper pieces moving forward.
Which is also why I'm glad you brought up that point about him playing the 82 games. That's also why, Dame, you got to make sure you can rely on Anthony Davis, because I think going forward, you're going to have to manage a lot of these minutes with LeBron, especially with what we've had, everything going on with COVID. We just got the word from the NBA today. The season's training camp starts September 28th.
Right.
So, this might be a blessing in disguise for LeBron that he didn't have a long finals run this year, because whoever ends this season as champion is only going to have a little bit over 2 months before training camp starts, or the season starts, I should say.
All over again, yeah.
And so, we see, but look at this year in the playoffs. The final four teams that were in the bubble last year, except with the exception of what would that be? Denver's on, and they look gassed right now.
Right.
All those teams didn't make it out of the first round, with the exception of Denver, and Denver looks gassed now. So this might be a blessing for LeBron to sit, relax, chill. He always works on his body. He takes care of his body. But the key is, can Anthony Davis stay in the court? And I'm glad you brought it up about some of the other the supporting players. Schroeder was not good, especially down the stretch after coming back from COVID. Montrezl Harrell's a problem because you can't play him in the playoffs because he can't defend. You can just attack him in the pick and roll. I see Chris, your man CB said LeBron played in the Olympics. No, he should not.
I'm about to say, I was going to let that sit there for a minute, because I agree with you. Like, in all honesty, like, LeBron should just take the summer off.
Yeah, man.
Go fishing in Mexico. Do whatever.
Go fishing. Promote Space Jam 2.
Right.
Just do that.
Right.
But to those players, I think you're right. Kyle Kuzma disappeared, as I was saying, in some of these games. That's what was more disappointing about the Lakers. Their defensive intensity was still there, but some of the offense was just like, man, they don't have guys that could hit shots. And you talked about losing some of the dogs, Dame. Rondo, they didn't bring back. I thought that was a mistake. I thought also not even bringing back Dwight Howard back. Some of the guys who had the defensive intensity played their roles. You talked about that with the Bulls. And I think they lost that. So how they retool, and they don't have a lot of flexibility to retool, is going to be really interesting going into next year.
I agree. And it definitely, I agree. At this point in his career, I think he really does need a few more. They don't have to be 1A all-stars.
Right.
But they have to be perennial all-stars and guys that can really take the pressure off of him to have to produce in the crunch. I'm not sure, Boone. Like, I'm be honest with you, I don't think he is. I'm saying that I hope he doesn't. I agree with you. He shouldn't.
Absolutely not.
This is not the point, or in my opinion, he already said no. Thanks, Quan. So thank you for sharing that. Because he really needs to go ahead. Yeah, exactly. It's all about the role players for them right now. So with that being said, then, like I said, so at this point in the playoffs, and looking at the landscape of the teams that we have left, let's start in the West. The teams out in the West. Who do you see right now coming out of the West vying for the championship this year?
So this is tough. And I was just talking about this on the show I was doing, right? I never believe in the Clippers. Let me just put that out there. I don't believe in the Clippers. Like, my whole motto is the Clips are going to clip, right? Like, this is what's going to happen. But, and you know this, Dame, this can happen sometimes too for teams. You've been watching basketball a long time, so you know this. Sometimes a team that went through what the Clippers went through last year, and then they were down 2-0 to the Mavs. They come back, they win 4 out of 5. I wonder how that can spark a team. Now, a lot of that will have to do with what happens tonight. We'll see if they can bounce back from that game 1 loss against Utah. But I think the Clippers might have something here. I think there's something that might bring them together. But the team that really looks good right now that I feel like could definitely come out the West is Phoenix. They look like they're rolling on all cylinders. Chris Paul is motivated. I
Yep.
think he knows this is his chance to get to the finals. I love CP3 fan. Want to see him do it. But the way that team's playing right now, CP3's got the offense coming. Booker is cooking. DeAndre Ayton looks good inside. He was giving Anthony Davis the business, and the Lakers bigs the business.
He was working him. Yeah, he was working him.
And now he's outplaying Jokic, who's the MVP of the league, although I think Jokic is gassed from all the basketball he's played in the last year. But their role players know what they're doing. Mikal Bridges, the team looks good, and they look confident right now. So I really like Phoenix or the Clippers. If the Clippers get past Utah, I think Phoenix, because they've got Kawhi, a player who's done it before. Paul George, if he can step up, and they've got a coach in Ty Lue who's coached on the championship level and did not panic when his team was down 2-0. I think those things bode well for the Clippers, but it's not going to be easy for them against Utah. So I think either of those, I would love to see those teams in the Western Conference Finals. I think you would too, right? You'd love to see those teams play.
I have to be honest. I have to be honest. So, and I don't want to. I really don't want to jinx. Because CP3, like you said, is my guy. Like, he's somebody that I like, right?
Yeah.
But for the longest time, or like this last, let's just say the last 6 years, from Houston and LA, the end run to LA, this time of year, like, he always busts a flat tire. It's always a hamstring.
Yep.
He catches a flat all the time, you know. And I love the man, but I'm just afraid to say, like, because I'm afraid he's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And Kawhi, this is right. Phoenix is balling, no doubt. Like, this is a team, the youth with the mix of, you know, CP3's experience and leadership. You can really see it was the perfect blend. It was the right landing spot for him.
Yes.
And these guys are really playing like they have. It's like somebody told them, look, we're gonna roll the ball out and y'all just go ball. Y'all don't pay no attention to the scoreboard. Don't pay no attention to the lights. We just gonna play ball. And it's like they're in the park and they just playing ball. They having fun. Kawhi on that hand, because like he said, he's done it already.
Yep.
He's the X factor, the Y factor, and the Z factor. Because I look at George, Paul, PG, like, man, excuse me, but where the fuck is this guy? I'm just sorry. I'm just sorry. Like, you don't know which version of PG, you know, that you're gonna get. Like, and he drives me nuts because I think Kawhi went out and got him really to have his you know, Batman and his Robin.
Yeah.
He hasn't been the Robin. He hasn't been Batwoman, Batgirl. I'm just sorry. That's just my opinion. So, looking at it, I would love to see either one of them, but I have to go with Utah. There's something about.
So you like this Utah team? It's
something that I just can't put my finger on. With Donovan Mitchell and Rudy in the middle, and they have a fight. They just have this dog mentality in them as a team.
You know what I see, Dame, with them, and I don't think anything about that or picking Utah is crazy here to go to the finals either. I think they're right there in that conversation. What I've looked at them, the one thing I've said about how they've played outside of that first game against Memphis when they didn't have Donovan Mitchell, obviously, they've been the most disciplined team on both sides of the ball.
Perfect.
That's what I've seen, right? Now they're not the most, obviously the Nets are the most offensively scary team,
right? But
they've been the most disciplined on both sides of the ball, and I think a lot of that has to do with one of the things that we underrate around sports sometimes in the NBA is continuity. These guys have been playing together for a while. We forget last year in the postseason, Conley was injured. Bogdanovich was out. Now they've got now they're back around. They need Conley to get back and get healthy. They got Clarkson off the bench. These guys, you talked about knowing their role. These guys know their role. And Utah, you know, you look at the last game, they were down 13 at the half. They were not shook at all whatsoever.
None.
Mitchell's a big time player. He's coming out. He's giving you a 45 piece and he's confident. You know, Gobert does his thing in the middle. The role players know their role. That's why I said the Jazz could beat the Clippers. The Jazz could also then go and beat the Suns. It's not crazy if the Jazz go to the finals. It wouldn't shock me. I like the balance of the Suns a little bit better offensively, but you also made another good point, just to bring it back to what you said in the beginning. Chris Paul, you're afraid he's going to blow the flat tire. I understand it. And a lot of it for us watching basketball is we've seen it before, right? Like, we've seen this happen before. Chris Paul is undoubtedly one of the best point guards of all time. He also is a fantastic playoff performer. He doesn't get his due because he hasn't been to a finals. But if you look at this guy's numbers in the postseason, it's fantastic.
Yep.
It's usually other players around him that come up short, not him, or that he doesn't play, which is the point that you made. and that's the thing that you want. You got to pray and hope that Chris Paul stays healthy. We saw the scare with the shoulder in the first round. Now he's looked good the last couple of games. You just got to hope he doesn't blow that flat tire. I know that's your concern, and I hear you.
I'll just be honest with you. I mean, I would like to say him, but I'm going to ride. I'm going to bet on
Black. With the Jazz?
I'm going to bet on Black and go with the Jazz right now, because I like your word, like you said, continuity and discipline. They are really right now, those teams. So let's flip the script to the East, because when this thing started, I was on two teams, and I was telling another friend of mine down here, fear the deer and look out for Philly.
And look out for Philly. Okay.
Yeah. Now I hate to say it. I think the deer is about to be dead. We about to have beef jerky. I don't know. Right now, look, Brooklyn. Whoo, boy, them boys in Brooklyn, they cooking right now. They cooking.
Man, they are cooking. And my concern with Brooklyn for most of the season, even after they got Harden, was, can they defend? Right, that was my concern, because watch these games through the regular season, they're giving up a whole bunch of points. You see bad teams in close games with them. So I'm like, how are these guys going to defend when it comes to the playoffs? But what I'm starting to, I don't know if I'm fully around on this, and they look scary, is the difference with them and the other teams, and we're seeing this in the series now against the Nets, against the Bucks, without Harden, is, all right, their defense has been okay, but they got two guys when they need a bucket that can go get it. And the difference with the Nets is the Nets don't go through offensive droughts as long as some other teams, because they got guys who's, the worst you might see is the other team going an 8-0 run. But then, KD's going to get you a bucket. Kyrie can get you a bucket. And if Harden's out there, he's either going to get you a bucket or create for somebody else.
Yep.
Yeah. So the offense is so deadly, they might not even need a top tier, even mediocre defense, because if it comes down to like, let's say there's a tight game. Let's say tonight, as we're recording this game 3 starting with the Bucks. Let's say tonight they're in a tight game with the Bucks, and it's a 4-point game with 2 minutes left. Okay, who do you trust to win that game? You're probably leaning towards the Brooklyn, because you trust their offensive players to get it done, right? You absolutely trust them to get it done, despite their defensive liabilities or inefficiencies, we should say. But you're starting to realize in this NBA and the way we are with spacing and height and all that, these are guys who can get their own shot anytime they want. You see how KD is cooking Giannis, the reigning defensive player of the year. He gave him the business.
I was expecting more of a matchup in that one defensively.
Me too,
I thought Giannis would be the guy. Not like you're gonna stop KD.
Yeah, right.
But make it more difficult.
Right.
For KD. And that hasn't happened.
Right.
And it's shocking to me. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and turn my fear of deer into beef jerky. For the
I like that. So do you think that series is over, Dame? Or you sounds like you're out on the Bucks. Like, are you? I know we're in the middle of game 3 and they could turn this thing around tonight. But are you out on the Bucks?
I just don't see it. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, for the last couple of years, quietly, I've been really. I thought when they got. I thought Bledsoe was a good point guard, but when they made the swap and got Drew Holiday, I thought it was an upgrade. I'll be honest with you for this style of basketball in the playoffs. I thought he was better suited and better fitted for what the Bucks were doing. And Middleton stepped his game up. Lopez was still consistent, and just a lot of the pieces that they had. I thought, what, even though they weren't as good, record wise like they were last year, I thought they were a better team, and I thought they were better equipped. And I just got to be honest, like watching the Nets right now, I mean, they playing like, man, they don't care who the hell's on the court. And like you said, I want to go back, like, Boone said, they should have kept Allen early on in the season. Like when they got rid of Allen, I thought they lost their mind.
Jared Allen, yeah,
I thought they lost their mind.
Yeah,
a lot of their bench pieces that I thought were going to be critical to what I thought would be, the playoffs now. They're rolling, like I said, it doesn't matter. Like they're really in the mentality of. We're gonna outscore you like Golden State did when they were on their pinnacle, right? Right. And you're right. The Greek freak, he's on vacation in Greece during the playoffs because I'm just not seeing it. Like I'm sorry. You're right, Boom. Right, beef jerky, Quan, all day. So I just say that I am going to give up. I've given up.
You're out on them. You're out. So I want to say something because Chris Moon made the comment there about Giannis not showing. I believe it was Chris. I got it wrong. Chris said the comment about Giannis being out in the playoffs, and I think he's right because Giannis's game isn't. without the jumper, he's got no jumper right now.
Right.
Now, you talked about, Dame, that you thought based on the additions that they made, you talked to Drew Holiday swapping for Bledsoe, definitely an upgrade. Agree with you on that. I thought that would help too, one, defensively, but two, also how they might utilize Giannis. What's annoying me about watching the Bucks right now, what's just getting on my nerves is you see this stuff when Giannis is bringing the ball up the court. Giannis is not initiating the offense. He is not an offensive initiator. You know why? Because teams in the playoffs, good defensive teams, and the Nets aren't even a good defensive team. You know what they're doing? If you're watching the games, they're sagging off of him, right?
That's it.
And they're like, we're going to make you shoot. And we know Giannis can't shoot. They need to be using Giannis, I feel like, more in the mid area to the post to be more effective because the point that I think you were bringing up, and also your man Chris Boone was bringing up as well too, is that we know the Nets don't have a lot of size inside. They haven't even played DeAndre Jordan in series because they can't. The kid Nick Claxton's been playing pretty good as well. Use him inside. Try to get KD, who's playing the 4 and sometimes the 5 in some lineups. Get him in foul trouble. They haven't attacked the Nets' weaknesses at all. That's what's been really disappointing to me. We'll see what they do tonight in Game 3, but that's just been so disappointing to me because I think they need to utilize Giannis differently and work on his strengths, because his strength is not being an offensive initiator. Give that ball to Drew Holiday. Let him initiate the offense, right? What did you bring him here for? And if it wasn't for that?
Some of the things you just talk about, put Giannis in the high pick and roll, when they go small, make KD play defense, and you switch sides, put him high, put him low, put him in the post, let him use his size and his strength and really attack KD to put pressure on him and make it. I mean, really, let's call what it is. Get him tired some way, because on the offensive end, man, if you're not making him do anything on the defensive end, man, he's looking for the rock. He's just looking for the rock on the other end to score. So yeah, I'm going to put that one on pause. I'm going to rock with Brooklyn on that one. And the other one, Boone also brought up, again, as a Knicks fan, this right here, man, this brother right here, I didn't think he had it in him. I'm gonna keep it honest with you.
Yeah,
I thought he was a stringy, wet noodle. I'm not even gonna lie. Not to say he doesn't have game, because the kid, he has game, but I did not think he really had it in him. And to watch what he's done, not only against the Knicks, but what he's carrying on in Philly, I have to agree. Quan said it. ATL going to be, right now I'm actually pushing money onto that line, because ATL right now, they hot. Like, there's no fear right now.
Listen, you brought up the point about Trae Young, and I was in the building for Game 5 of the Knicks final game of the season. They lost. I was there. You were there too?
No, I'm sorry. I'm laughing at Boom, like, Boom, you cold, man. You throwing a Nets assistant. The assistant coaches is out coaching the Bucks.
No. Boone isn't. Boone's not even being cold. And you know why I'm gonna say that? Boone knows that if the Bucks, especially if they go down 3-0 after tonight, Mike Budenholzer, I mean, the seat's warming. The seat's warming up for him.
He's done.
The hot seat is gonna be there, and he's done. National assistant coaches have outcoached them. Boone is absolutely right. Now, Boone also makes another point right here, calls it Reggie Miller 2.0 to Trae Young. Here's what you have to like about Trae Young, and I think this is what you're alluding to, Dave. Trae Young doesn't seem to be scared of the moment. I like seeing that in players. As much as he was killing the Knicks, he comes into the Garden, not scared, hostile environment. He goes down to Philly, not scared, hostile environment. And the way the Hawks are built, they are built for the modern NBA. They got a lot of guys that can space it out. Huge blow for them with DeAndre Hunter not being in this series. But why? And I don't remember. I don't remember if it was Quan that picked the Hawks to win this series.
Yeah, it was Quan.
But why I do not think that is crazy at all, right? And even when you started the series, even if you go before Game 1, the Embiid meniscus tear, the slight meniscus tear, and Embiid has always been injured. Right. That scares me. Now, he's been balling. He looks well. He's moving decently. But every time he falls, I'm like, oh, damn, I don't know what's going to happen there, right? Like, I'm a little bit nervous about that. But the Hawks are going to give them problems. What I'm really intrigued to see is tomorrow night down in the ATL, how the Hawks come out in front of that home crowd and how Philly responds. You talked about it. The Hawks are not scared here. They believe they can win. And it starts with their leadership. And let's give more credit. It really starts with the job Nate McMillan's done. Because Nate McMillan, I like Lloyd Pierce, but Nate McMillan got Trae to balance his game out a little bit more. He's shooting a little bit less threes. He's been going more inside, looking for the pass. You see how deadly the floater is. When Trae Young goes up for the floater, you don't know if he's going to shoot it or if he's looking for Capella for the alley-oop. You have to, you put the pressure on even Philly's defense. And Philly is a fantastic defensive team. You're putting the pressure on them. Here's my concern with Philly. How's Philly scoring right now, guys? How are they scoring? I think this is why, Quan, I don't want to put words in your mouth, brother, but I think this is why you're making this pick. Philly, we know Ben Simmons doesn't shoot. We know that. Danny Green right now isn't shooting at all. He can't hit a shot at all whatsoever. And now you're relying on Tobias Harris, who I like, Long Island brother. You know, we like Tobias Harris. Covered him in high school. Like Tobias Harris. But when he's your second option, your second most reliable offensive player, that's a problem, right? He probably should be your third option in terms of that. So could I see the Hawks upsetting them? Absolutely, because my concern is where's Philly getting this offense from? And I just don't know. And unless Ben Simmons becomes aggressive and can dominate in the paint, then I just don't know. I think that series is absolutely going 6, probably definitely going 7. And I don't think Quan's pick of the Hawks in 6 is crazy at all whatsoever. I really don't. And if it does, there's gonna have to be more changes in Philly because they're gonna have to upgrade. They're gonna have to upgrade that offense.
Hey, it's not even that. They're gonna have to blow that team up finally.
You think so?
I mean, I think after this year, like I say, you know, I agree with everything. Is again, boom, you just took the words out of my mouth. I mean, he and I, you know, Simmons is not built like that.
He's not built like that.
For whatever reason, at this stage in the game, you've been in the league, you know, this long now. You haven't even created a semblance of a 15-foot consistent jumper to where teams have to at least respect you enough to guard you so that they're not putting all the weight and pressure on Embiid in the post. You know what I'm saying? So right, and I agree. That's where I was going, Boone. Like, you really have to at this point blow it up. Is for whatever reason the parts and the pieces are not working.
Well, by blow it up, Dame, right? I have to assume that you mean, and I see Chris saying the same thing here too. I have to assume that you mean trading Simmons, right? Because that's your best way to blow that up if you are going to blow it up, right?
Boom, you terrible. Yeah, he making it bad for the light-skinned brothers out there. Yo, real talk. Like, I mean, honestly, he still has value in everything else that he does. You know, his size, his skill. And I don't know what do you do right now. It's either somewhere on the coaching staff, someone has to go, and that's because they're not spending enough time with him, you know, on the court, getting him in rhythm, getting him in his shot so that he becomes consistent. But I have to put it on him too now at this stage of the game. He's not a rookie anymore. This is not his second year anymore. You know, the onus now comes to the player.
So I would say share this. I spoke with somebody. This wasn't last year, obviously. It was the year before. So it was 2019. I was down in Philly. Somebody who used to work around the Sixers organization, and I spoke with them, and they said kind of to what you're saying, that this, and by this I us seeing him not shoot, Dame, this is on him. Coaches have been, this was under the Brett Brown coaching regime. Okay, so not Doc Rivers. This is on him not wanting to put in the work. You'll see him shooting some of the shots after a practice or whatever, but he has not really put in the focus to do it. And I think what bothers me about Simmons, as you said, fantastic defensive player, really good rebounder. He's got the tools. His size, 6'10" guy can handle like that, can get into the paint. It's that he won't shoot. He won't shoot. It's not that he can't shoot. And we've seen dudes with no J, but he won't shoot. He won't shoot. Giannis, we know, can't shoot. But Giannis will shoot.
Yep.
And you can't keep the defense honest, to your point, brother, if you don't shoot at all, right? And I think that's the thing. It's like, so if you're not going to shoot at all, you think we'll talk about the way the Nets are playing D against Giannis, they might as well turn their back on you. They might as well.
Look, we've gone, you know, Chris and I have gone, you know, my man Boone, we've gone to, you know, we take a ride.
Yeah, I can tell Boone doesn't like him.
Yeah, no, you know what I mean, look, I'm sitting in the arena, obviously, because I'm sitting there, he's like, oh man, look at this bullshit. Oh, look at this garbage. So I know, and I feel him, you know, so something has to change there.
I feel him on that. I feel him.
It does.
Yeah, like something's got to change. You know who I think would look really nice if they could swing this trade? Go get Dame Lillard. You got Dame and Embiid in a little pick and roll. That looks really nice.
That's scary. That's scary right there.
Yeah.
That's real scary right there.
Yep.
Right. Look how Celtics young point guard stepped up over the year. I mean, it's true. If you look at the Celtics and some of the other teams that have had guys who've elevated their games and became really threat on the court. Boston is a perfect example with Tatum and what's the brother? It's a Brown.
Jalen Brown.
Jalen, yeah, I
Yep.
mean, just really Kimba. And look, Kimba, I don't know what happened to his game. I know knee surgery and all, but
Surgeries.
yeah,
Yeah.
he looked like he's lost out on the court. But that's a whole nother. So with all of that being said,
Yes.
I have to ask. From this point on, looking forward, who do you feel is in the finals, and who are you taking to win the championship this year?
Man, it's hard. So I said in the West, I go with it could be Phoenix or the Clippers. I'm going to go with the Clippers. I feel like that's going to come back to bite me because of the Clippers. In the East, I mean, it's hard to not say Brooklyn. It's really hard to not say Brooklyn right now because let's even say we get the Quan upset special. Right. And we see the Hawks beat the Sixers, which I think is possible. I don't think the Hawks have any answer for Brooklyn.
No.
Unless Brooklyn somehow has major catastrophic injuries. I don't see it. I have concerns about the Nets offense. Even though I grew up a Knicks fan, I'm a Brooklynite. I think the Nets can do it. I think the guys are focused there. KD's motivated enough. Yep. If they get Harden back and that offense is humming again like we saw in the first round, it's going to be scary. So right now, I'm leaning towards the Nets to win the championship. I would have to go. I have to go with that pick there. I think if the Clippers, they played against the Clippers could give them enough of a tough time because their two top players are really good two-way players. Right. So that makes for an interesting matchup. But at the end of the day, they might have, Harden might be barbecue chicken for Harden. Right. Who's guarding Harden in that matchup if Harden's healthy and plays? Exactly. You gonna put Bobby? You gonna put Reggie Jackson on him? No. No. Beverly can't even play right now. No. I see Harden killing whoever's guarding him. Yep. So it's while I like to see that matchup, I'm sure the league wants to see that matchup because you got the Brooklyn and LA. Right. That will be great. I'd probably have to say the Nets to win it all just because I like how they're playing right now. But here, I even got to say this. Please, let's not discount your Jazz that you picked there too. Let's not discount them at all too on that in terms of getting there because I think they definitely could. I don't think they have the personnel to deal with the Nets. Right. But for them, it will be a great experience to get there. But I have to go with the Nets for sure. And I agree with you, Quan. ATL's got no chance against Brooklyn. Nah. None. Philly, they do because Philly can't score. But with the Nets, nah.
And that really, for me, to close out this segment, I'm just going to say only because I love the Jazz. I think they're good. But their biggest thing is head-to-head trying to, they say in most sports, defense wins championships.
They say that most of the time, right.
In this scenario, if it's the Nets, there's nobody stopping. If you try to stop two, you got a third one to worry about.
Right.
And we're still not talking about Blake Griffin, the magician, with the wool he pulled over Detroit's eyes because the boy got spring in his legs. Yeah, I mean, it's just so much going on right now. I like the Jazz. I just don't think they have enough defensively. And I think the Clippers, if they can get outside of themselves or out of their own way and they make it to the finals, I think it'll be a great series. But again, it's still going to be, you got one guy that you got to figure out who's going to play. Pick your poison, and you got to pray that they have a bad night and you have a better night to keep up with their scoring. So I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go with Brooklyn and the Clippers. But I think Brooklyn definitely wins it all. Just too much firepower.
Yeah,
at the end of the day,
I'd have to agree, man. I'd have to agree.
So before we get into the next segment, I want to take another quick second to shout out our sponsors, TD3 Insurance Agency and Regina Leggett, our Legal Shield Independent Associate. Two Mics Up is all about supporting small businesses. TD3 Insurance protects and covers all your insurance needs from auto, home, renters, motorcycles, specialty, and life. TD3 is licensed in the DMV, North Carolina, New York. Check them out. Their brand new office, 3985 Prince William Parkway, Suite 206 in Woodbridge, Virginia. Holla at my man Cliff. Regina Leggett, she's our Legal Shield Independent Associate. If you're worrying about, legal problems or you need legal advice or representation, the days of no longer being able to afford an attorney are long gone. Contact my sister Regina Leggett at reginaleggett.wearelegalshield.com and start receiving the amount of justice that you deserve. So I want to transition, a little more than a month ago. And I think really when I reached out to you, the draft was going on.
Yeah, you did. Yep.
So I want to move over here to the NFL. and just talk a little football. And one of
Okay.
my first question really is, do the Bucks repeat as Super Bowl champs next year?
Mm.
And if so, let me know. If not, or is there another team out there that you think is going to rise to the top?
So the Super Bowl was interesting this year, right? Because
Very.
it was very interesting. I had the Chiefs winning that Super Bowl, and obviously the Chiefs,
Mm-hmm.
they did not look good. That offensive line, I
No,
think the injuries to
no.
the left side really hurt them. We
Yep.
saw that defensive line of Tampa Bay pretty much tear them up. However, with all that being said, if the Chiefs, get their guys back on offensive line, I think
Right.
they're going to be dangerous, and I
All
think they
day.
can. I think they're going to go back to the Super Bowl again because I don't see anybody beating them in the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they will learn from last time as long as they're healthy, and they will be fine. The Bucks, I mean, look, they had a great run on the road, getting to the Super Bowl. With Brady, you're always going to have a shot, and with that defense, you're always going to have a shot. But I just think the way the game's getting more dynamic, I think Mahomes is going to be on a mission. I like the Chiefs to
Mm-hmm.
come back this year and be really strong once again. I think they'll get it done. I don't want to overlook the Chiefs here. I'm not sliding the Bucks. I think the Bucks can be still very dangerous. They're returning a lot of guys. I think that
Mm-hmm.
matters. We talked about continuity again. They're
Mm-hmm.
returning pretty much a lot of the guys. So Brady's going to be more comfortable in the offense under Arians again.
Yep.
Working with Mike Evans and other guys. I think he'll be fine. So could the Bucks get back there again? Look, could we see a rematch again? Maybe.
I
You think so? You think
honestly,
so? Yeah.
and this is just my honest opinion. I think the Kansas City is just so far above and beyond
Ooh.
most of the teams. Like, and I say this lovingly, like, Baltimore still waiting for Lamar to figure out
Mm-hmm.
how to get over that hump. You look at Tennessee now, with Julio being there now, and Tannehill, somebody dipped him in Lake Minnetonka, or he got
I don't know
baptized.
what.
Because
Yeah.
I don't know what happened with Tannehill, and I mean, he's a brand new guy.
Dolphins fans everywhere are so upset.
You understand what I'm saying? And then you got Derrick Henry. I mean, this is beast mode all over again, man. And he's just punishing people, right? And you're right. And just in that, even though teams are studying Brady and what the Bucks did, they are going to play him harder. Same thing like New England. I just think that there's something about the people with Brady and what he understands and being successful and winning. And if you watch them, the times that they won, this kid giving him a clean pocket, he doesn't have to dance. He doesn't have to worry about people at his feet. And even when at his age, he still makes some errant throws. He has a hard time, connecting deep, but he's solid because he has no dirt at his feet. The year I think the Giants beat him, they showed him in that 16-0 season. I think they played the last game of that season before they played him in the Super Bowl.
Yes, that's correct. I was at that game. That's correct. Yes.
So they panicked and they kept dirt and garbage at his feet.
Yep.
And with him, you got to hit him in, full frontal. It can't be from the sides. It's got to be a frontal assault. And we showed that in the Super Bowl. In some of the games last year that he played in where they lost, I understand new offense, new players, but they made the game dirty in the middle for him, made him uncomfortable in the middle. And I think if, dirty as hell, you got to make it. I agree, Boone. And I just think they're good at doing that. But I just still find because of Brady and that Brady factor and all the skills. Look, I didn't know Tampa Bay's defense was fire like that. Them dudes was fire. And I just based on that, and I don't see anybody really in the NFC. Seattle, Dallas, with Dak coming back, Green Bay, because you don't know what the hell's going on with Green Bay. I just don't see anybody that's going to be competitive enough to knock them off that pedestal.
I would give Seattle if they got their stuff together, and that kind of really means their defense,
right?
Because Russell Wilson played obviously at a high level last year, MVP level last year. If Seattle got their defensively was better, they could have a shot. But I think the way the Bucks can bring pressure on you, as we saw in the Super Bowl, if you don't have a good offensive line, they're going to bring the heat. And like you said, Brady is not what he used to be. And I don't want to disrespect him and call him a game manager at this point in his career, because he's better than a little bit better than that. And I think that's what helps him, though, right? Like, he's a little bit better than a game manager, and he doesn't have to do too much, and he's got decent enough skill players around him that with that defense he can get the job done. Now, I think if they see if they get to the Super Bowl and they see the Chiefs again, I think the Chiefs are going to be just really angry. And you're right. I would say the top teams in each conference, the AFC and NFC, I do think there's a gap, right? And I think that even maybe more so when the AFC, like you said, Baltimore with Jackson, I don't know if they're ready, and a lot of their issues on defense too. The Steelers, they got to get stuff working out with Ben. They probably need to be in transition mode right now.
Yep.
The Steelers are always going to be tough because they're a really good organization. They draft well and they do what they're supposed to, but they're still in transition. The team I would watch out for in the AFC, though, and I know you're going to ask me about some teams in improve. We'll talk about them a little bit too, is New England, though. I keep telling people, yeah, man, stop sleeping on Cam. Cam is not done. I tell a lot of people think Cam is done. Cam, we got to look at it. He was playing good, and then he had COVID. And after that, he struggled. And I like some of the additions they've made in New England. You're not rocking with me on this one.
No. I mean, you know what? Cool. Look, no, it's cool because I'll be honest with you. Like I thought when Cam went to New England, I was like, yes. I said Belichick's a genius, and he had some good games. But there's something about Cam that just don't look right and don't feel right with me.
Maybe because the fan base up there, they don't want Cam up there.
They don't want him up there.
It's hard to see him in that uniform.
I don't know, because that's how I felt last year.
Yeah,
and I don't. I mean, I want to agree with you, but
I'll tell you what, Dame. If Cam does not get off to a good start, okay. And yes, Chris, he does have to cut his hair. I agree with you. But if Cam does not get off to a good start, brother, the fans up there are going to be calling for it. They drafted Mac Jones? Mac Jones? They drafted Mac Jones. The Patriots drafted Mac Jones. They're going to be calling for Mac Jones so quick because he fits the brand, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes, he does.
And they will be calling for him really quick. I just wonder how much COVID played a factor in what we saw from him. And also, he did not have anybody to throw to. Let's keep it
real. And I will
Mm-hmm.
give you. I agree to it because he can't run and he can't do all the Superman stuff like.
Nah, he can't do what he used to. Nah,
I agree with you. And like I said, I felt that way about him last year, and I really want to agree with you, but I don't know why.
No, I understand the trepidation.
And you want to know what though? Honestly, too though, like part of it, he got into pouty Cam. Like when he gets into pouty Cam and crybaby Cam, it's not a good look, and it just like, but he fucks up everything. It's just, I don't know. I wanna give it right. I mean, that's where I'm at. Quan perfectly said. It's not that I'm not a believer. I won't say that. I do believe in him, but he got to show me the money right now. He got to show me.
And that's fair. That's fair because. Listen, Chris, I have not met you, Chris, but your commentary is great, man. I appreciate your commentary. And look, man, they start doing that in New England. Woo, I want to say there should be a problem, but it's New England, so I don't know. But I will say this: what the point that I think that you and Quan are making that's right is that. The other thing that he has to show, we got to remember last year he came into the year, he didn't get signed till right before training camp. And he's been damaged goods the last couple of years prior to this. And I wonder how maybe having this offseason, if Cam's got healthy and just obviously the seriousness with lingering effects of COVID as well, too, in all seriousness there, I hope he's fine with that. But I think if he is healthy, he has to do it. So for you guys saying that he's got to show you, I totally understand because we really haven't seen consistent high-level play from Cam. If we look at talking about it seriously in about 3 seasons now.
Agreed.
So, we know we could do when he was at his full strength. That team he took in 2015 to the Super Bowl, I mean, he had bums at wide receiver, and he took him. He bums, and he took him there. So we know Cam is a really good player. He does not fit the New England Patriots brand, but that's kind of why I want to see him do good too. So he could just make those people up there mad that they got to root for somebody like him.
I felt that way last year. And I'm gonna leave it there.
We'll see. We'll see.
So looking back then too, and looking back and even currently, like looking at free agency, like the craziness with Julio, I never thought I'd see him in a Titans uniform. But
man,
this is the new NFL, and just looking at it, like what do you see, or who do you think's improved, maybe the most through this current round of free agency?
Yeah, so I thought the Pats, because I like some of the stuff they did in terms of, adding some improvements to their offense and their defense. I think they did really good with that in the draft. So I do think the Pats are going to be better in what they've done through free agency and also the draft. I think they'll be better, and if they have a healthy Cam Newton, obviously, I think they'll be better. The team I also used to root for, but I decided to stop doing that. I think they've made some decent improvements in the Jets, although I didn't like what they did in the draft at quarterback. I just think from a terms of coaching, some other additions, they'll also be fine. But you have to look at the Titans as one of the biggest winners of the off seasons, right, Dave? Just now it's just last week getting Julio Jones on the team. I mean, that's huge for Tannehill just to have another weapon to add along with Derrick Henry and that offense. And like you said, I don't know what happened to Tannehill. I don't know if he bathed in the waters of Lake Minnetonka, as you said, or whatever. I have no idea what happened. But he's looked like a competent quarterback right now. What we've seen in the NFL is if you have a competent quarterback and then you have some pieces around him, now he's got a threat like Julio Jones, although getting older, and a beast like Derrick Henry. Well, if you've got a competent defense, which they've also shown to have had, then now you can maybe talk about maybe being in a game if you force some turnovers with the Kansas City Chiefs. Can you do that? So I think they're one of the biggest winners in the AFC, along with the Pats. I think they've really improved. But I still think, like we said at the top, there's a huge gap between, we're talking about the Bucs and the rest of the NFC, and the Chiefs and the rest of the AFC. There's still a long way to go. But the Titans are maybe the team that closed that a little bit. I wanted to see, I would have loved to have seen Julio go to a team like the Ravens to see what Lamar could do with a threat like him. But obviously they just didn't have enough to give up, because Lamar, we know, was a special talent. I think if you give him a little bit more on offense and you work on that defense, if you're the Ravens, you don't want to waste these years now with him in his prime. And I like to see a guy like him get it done. So those are the teams I think that have improved a little bit through this offseason.
I'm going to throw. I agree with you, and I'm going to tell you, like Boone said. So I do agree. The Jets did Sam Darnold. They did him mad dirty. They treated him like a $2 lady of the night, and really did him dirty. And
I agree.
I will say though, I do agree with you as far as their upgrades. I think the change in culture was really important because the Jets were beyond. They were sewer toxic. Like they were just really. It was a really toxic thing. And I agree. With Tennessee, but I'm going to throw in one that for me, I don't know, kind of goes under the radar, or just because it's Cleveland. We're just talking about the Cleveland Browns.
That's a good one. I should have mentioned that. It's a good one. Yeah.
I think they defensively. I think they struck gold with the guys that they brought in. They brought some flyers. They brought in, what's his name, Hill, and a couple other guys that I think that are really going to what they need on the defensive side, because they do have ballers on offense.
Yep.
Kareem Hunt and Chubb, and I'm not a big Baker Mayfield fan, but he's shown steady improvement.
Right.
With Jarvis Landry and Odell. Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? So when I look at them, I think they're the one that. So, like you said, there's a big gap. I think Tennessee, and I agree with Quan. I think we're really looking at Tennessee, Kansas City, AFC Championship game, which I would be excited to see. But I think we overlook Cleveland just because it's Cleveland. But I think they're really on the cusp of if things fall the right way for them, and that's really football, game of inches. They get the right bounce, the right call. I think we might be looking at a different playoffs. And Cleveland being a serious threat this year. And that may sound odd, but
it's not. I don't think it's crazy to say they could win that division, right? It's not crazy to say they could win the AFC North. Right. It's going to be tough. You still got Baltimore. The Steelers, even though I've kind of moved my rooting interest over to them, they have not. I'm still unsure about the quarterback position with them, and I still just don't think they have enough there in terms of offense, even though they brought Juju back.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think that's crazy. I think Cleveland did some nice things on the defensive side of the ball. The offense looked to be humming a little bit better towards the end of last year. I'm like you. I'm not a huge Baker guy at all whatsoever, but I think he's starting to get a little bit more comfortable. And I think you need a good defense around him and some talented pieces to allow him to work. I do agree that Sam Darnold got I wasn't a big Darnold fan, but I do agree he got a raw deal here. And I think my issue with the Jets was I don't really Zach Wilson, I wasn't excited about them drafting. I think the Jets made a mistake. I think they should have took Justin Fields, but that's a whole nother story.
Okay, so look, and we'll touch on that right there. Chicago got a winner.
I agree. I think so too.
Got a winner. I think Justin Fields. And
I agree.
To me, he was the hidden gem in this entire quarterback class that they were talking about, and Chicago got a winner. And yes, Boone, Odell, he's got to prove that he's not a bust. All that flashing and dancing and all that. He don't have the bright lights in New York no more. He's stuck in the Cleveland Tombstones. He's gotta prove he's not a bust. But I do look forward to seeing what they do next. And really, when you look, this coming season, who do you think is going to be surprised? Like, who do you think is going to be surprised, stand out?
Ooh, like player or team? We're talking team?
Either or. Pick either a player or team or both.
Who could be a surprise team in the NFL? You know what? I'm gonna go with this because I like the culture that was building around this team. I'm going to say the Giants. Oh. And I a lot of this has to do. I'll sort of hedge my position on this by saying I think a lot of it has to do with obviously Saquon returning and how healthy he is from the ACL. And look, the weight he has, how he's built, and then coming back from the ACL injury is not easy. But I like the culture Joe Judge was building there with the Giants, the way they played tough in some games. And if, this is a big if, Daniel Jones stops turning the ball over, they can be pretty good. Chris, I also like that other pick you made in the NFC. I like that too. San Francisco. What's the problem with San Francisco, guys? Quarterback play, right? We know, I'm sure nobody here, we don't believe in Jimmy Garoppolo. They didn't believe in Jimmy Garoppolo. Okay, we know they don't believe it. It was like, we're trying to get him up out of here. So I think San Francisco, we know what they can do. They're solid defensively. They were just in the Super Bowl the year before. We know what they can do. It's the quarterback play that's holding them back. I also would say, I don't think this team will be a surprise. This is not really a surprise because I think people like this trade that went the way it went for this team. But I think the Rams will be better too. That NFC West is that division is tough.
You stole that was my thunder right there. Guy.
Stafford's just an upgrade, huge upgrade.
To me, and I think by having Stafford, I think that puts them back in a position to where they were a couple of years ago, with the talent that they have on both sides of the ball. I just think Stafford gives them enough to be back in the conversation.
I agree.
And I really think, again, like I said earlier, if you get the right bounce, you get the right call, you stay away from injury, I think they can be competitive enough this year to be a threat in the NFC. In the AFC, you see, man, this is what happened when you're friends. And, I was going to say, for whatever reason, the Raiders intrigue me. Not only because of Groot, I think they have a lot of the right pieces on both sides of the ball, but they can't just seem to gel. They can't seem to all be in concert all 4 quarters, all game. Like, I don't know what the disconnect is, but I think if they get it, because I don't think Derek Carr's horrible.
Nah.
Is there something about him? Like, I don't know. He's another one of those guys. He's kind of aloof to me. And like, I don't want to question his passion for the game, but like, dude, like sometimes I want to flick the TV. Like, dude, are you tuned in? Like, are you here today? Because they have talent. So I agree with Boone. Like, the Raiders to me intrigue me. I wouldn't say show and prove, but I would like to see more from him. That would be my dark horse.
Well, I think if they made the playoffs, it would be a surprise. I mean, that division is there for them. If they wanted to get a wild card spot, they're not winning it because the Chiefs will, I think, unless Mahomes gets hurt or something. But I think if they got a wild card spot, that would be a huge surprise. They just haven't been able to put it together. And this is kind of a big year for that franchise. Because you're looking at Gruden, you haven't got it done. You want to turn around. You waited. You traded Khalil Mack. Which I still don't understand that. And, it's time now, right? He's been secure. He's got the 10-year contract. Everything is good, but it's time now for them to do it. But I can see that. It wouldn't be a major surprise to me because, the Broncos are still,
the Chargers
up and coming. Yeah, like it's you would think they should finish second, and they should be they were in the hunt for a wild card to the last couple of weeks of the season last year. But it's a quarterback play. It really comes down to Carr, though, Dane. It really does, right? Because if he's not more consistent, which we haven't seen out of him, and cuts down on interceptions, then That's what it's going to come down to. They've got it there. And Gruden, you see this thing, my criticism with Gruden, right? Gruden's supposed to be the dude that develops the quarterbacks and gets them. So when are we going to see Carr take that next step? That's the thing. It's like, and then I'm looking at Gruden like, this is what you're supposed to do, man. This is supposed to be your bag. This is supposed to be what you do.
I say, yeah, where you at, Chucky? You
Yeah,
need to,
Chucky.
like, draw up some play. Like, it's not working.
Right.
It's not working.
Right.
So
I like that pick of the Raiders, though. I like that.
okay.
I like it. Yeah.
We on a good call, Boone. I agree. I agree with that. So I want to change gears then. Now we're gonna talk a little boxing.
Yeah, okay. I hope we're talking real boxing.
And see, okay, because I was going to say, man, the thing about what's going on right now with boxing, and I think who is it? Showtime,
Mhm.
right? Has the what's the golden era? They run in the
Yep.
golden era, with Hagler, Leonard, Hearns, and all the greats. And I think that was a
Mhm.
golden era, not only for middleweights, but heavyweights at the time.
Heavyweights too. Yep.
Right, the heavyweights always have been the big draw. But I digress, and we're going to talk, like this debauchery, this sham, this hoodwink job,
Say it. Just say it.
this trash that happened on Sunday.
Now, I have a question for you, Dan, before you continue.
Yep.
I actually want to know, because I spoke about this on my podcast. Did you watch on Sunday?
Hell no.
Good. See,
hell no.
I love that you did not watch, because I refuse to watch too. I'm glad I just want to know before you continued if you watched. You did not watch.
Hell no.
I appreciate you for not watching.
No, there's no way in hell you're going to catch me to watch that trash, because first of all, he's in there with a cruiserweight, basically, because that's what Paul came in as, and the weight thing. And there was a couple of times from what I saw of the stills and some of the stuff that I found online. I mean, it looked like he really, at one point, it looked like he actually had almost knocked him down. They kind of propped him up and held him up so he wouldn't fall down. And I was just like, what is this trash? So how do you feel about all of these promo fights with the YouTubers and the retirees? How do you feel about that?
So, okay, I think it might be clear to the viewership that I don't really care as much as somebody who loves and likes the sport of boxing to necessarily watch this. I do not engage in this. I think one thing people need to understand is boxing is not easy. And you can't just step in the ring and fight anybody. If you step in the ring and there's a lot of people who think I can step in the ring and fight. No, you will get knocked out.
Okay.
If somebody who knows how to box seriously and knows how to use those hands, you will get hurt. Now, I don't understand, and maybe it's a generational thing, and I don't get it. But when I'm sure you're the same way. When I want to see I want to see the best fights. And that's an issue in boxing in itself, that most of the best fights don't actually get made. And now we're getting this. Let me just put it like this, Dane. This fight that happened this past Sunday, Floyd Mayweather, one of the greats, versus Logan Paul.
Facts.
The main event for this card was an exhibition.
Yes.
The main event was an exhibition, right? That's a problem, right? And it's like, I've asked people, well, why did you want to watch this? Oh, we just wanted to see somebody get knocked out. And there's all this stuff that Mayweather does in promoting these fights, and it's very racially charged. And we know there are a lot of people that don't look like us that want to see Mayweather get knocked out. It's the whole reason he did the Conor McGregor fight, which was a joke. We know this, right? And I'm not feeding into it. If I want to watch boxing, I want to see high-level boxing. I want to see really guys who know how to box, who love the sport. I want to see the best fights. I will always tune in for that. I will pay the pay-per-view for that, but I'm not paying for this nonsense. And I'm going to call it like you call it. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Now, the argument is, Dame, and I've heard this from some friends I have who are boxing writers and around the sport, is that, well, what people think is that having these YouTube stars is getting fringe people who don't love the sport and getting them to watch it. And I'm like, and my thing is like, this is not why we talk about sports. This is not why we love sports. You know why we love sports? Why you and I have talked for the past hour about the NFL and the NBA is because we like high-level competition.
Right.
We like seeing the best go up against the best.
Right.
When in this game, the sports game, did it become okay for us to watch one of the best who's ever done it in terms of a defensive fighter and skill like Floyd go against I'm going to call it what it is, a bum like Logan Paul. Logan Paul I don't care what he trains. Mayweather could be 55 and he's going to toy with that young man in the ring.
All day long.
Okay? Because Mike Tyson. You put Mike Tyson against Logan Paul. I don't want to get hit by Mike Tyson. Okay.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want that to happen. This is not a joke. And I don't like the sport of boxing, which is dangerous in itself already.
Yep.
But there's a skill to it. And I don't like when you're making a joke of the sport. And this is why I look at it. And what I hate about it too, my last point is, Dame, there are fighters trying to come up in this sport that are looking to get promoted, that are looking to grow, that are waiting for this opportunity, that want to get on different platforms, whether it be pay-per-view or ESPN or whatever it may be. And now we're taking some of these opportunities away from these fighters, or you're putting them lower on a card because Logan Paul and Mayweather is the event. And then there was no winner? What?
And that was the whole thing. And so all of that you said, I think for me, that's what makes it horrible. Growing up a boxing fan, is disheartening, just like you said, to watch this trash go on where anyone that has some type of Insta fame or YouTube fame robs a young professional that's put in the blood, sweat, and tears for the long haul, not for one night or for one payday. As Quan said, legal robbery, a big legal money robbery, grab, and it's disheartening, and it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And even what you said, funny, my wife, she likes to watch boxing and sports, and if I'm watching it, she's watching it. And I think my a friend of mine or her brother or whatever, Damon watching the fight, and she's like, "What fight?" Because usually I had a fight on.
You be watching, right?
Yeah, I be watching. Yeah, you don't have a fight on. I was like, "Oh, I'm not watching that trash." And she was like, "Oh, my brother said it was Mayweather." I said, "Yeah." I said, "It's not just because it was Mayweather.
Right.
Hey, first of all, he's retired." I said, "But here it is. He's fighting some YouTube guy." And she's like, "What?" So now she's sitting there on her phone, and she's like, "Oh, who's this guy?" I said, "Exactly, babe." I said, "That's why I'm not watching it."
Right. But I wish more people were like you. So my podcast co-host, he and I kind of talked about this on my podcast, and he watched. He's a big combat sports guy, probably even more so than me. Mm-hmm. And he watched it, and I told him, I said, the folks that watch it are part of the problem.
Right.
Because if they keep seeing that there's interest in there, just because they give you something doesn't, it's going to give you part of my language. Just going to give you shit doesn't mean you have to take it. And you don't have to watch this. Like, why? You think Logan Paul, Logan Paul's not knocking Mayweather out. That's never going to happen. Conor McGregor wasn't going to knock Mayweather out. Now, Conor McGregor is good in he's okay, I should say, in terms of the mixed martial arts. Yeah. But in terms of it's not the same as boxing. Him getting in the octagon is not the same as getting in the ring and boxing and using these hands. Right. And I just, for the life of me, I can't understand why people have a strong desire to watch this. I don't get it. And I'm legitimately, I think this is where you're getting to, Dame. I am concerned for the sport. I am legitimately concerned for the sport. And I don't want to sound like an old head on this at all whatsoever. They're saying, oh, boxing isn't what it used to be. And it's not. Mm-hmm. And it's not for many reasons. But I just think in terms of if you want, it's a niche sport. Let's call it what it is in America. It's a niche sport right now. And it may never be what it was in the 70s, in the 80s. Agreed. I understand it. Or even in the 90s when I was growing up, it meant something to watch these heavyweight fights and do all the stuff. But it doesn't have to be a joke. Let's not disrespect. I don't like disrespecting professionals in any craft. Okay? You're a pro at what you do. I respect what you do. Let's not disrespect it. Let's not put the amateurs. We don't put the amateurs with the pros. You know what I mean? There's a reason there's levels to things.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
I agree.
And there should be. And I think the problem is, Dame, that people around boxing, at least what I'm hearing is they're buying into this because it still can help make them money. And these YouTube guys, the Jake Pauls, the Logan Pauls of the world, people still are coming in and watching. Yeah. Because some YouTube guys popped off and said he could fight whoever. And now it's a joke, but they're making money. And, I think, I hate to say this, but there's probably stuff to prevent this from happening. But until one of these dudes seriously gets hurt in the ring, then it's going to wake everybody up. If somebody really knocks one of these dudes out and they seriously get hurt,
then it's a whole new ball game.
Then it's a whole new ball game. And it shouldn't have to come to that for people to realize these dudes should not be in the ring.
I agree, man. I really agree.
Yeah.
And, I look at, boxing, and I hope it does come back. I hope me personally, I hope they get rid of with a lot of this alphabet soup. A lot of these duck and hide or win duck and hide champions. It just
Man.
it's just diluting the sport. I think we've got the governing boards are really hampering what really should be happening. We all want to see champions fight champions. You hear a
Yep.
lot of champions say that,
But
but
nothing happens.
nothing happens. I think there's
Yeah.
very few dudes out there right now. I mean, honestly, the only one that I really see, Canelo is kind of like the only one that really goes out and
Mm-hmm.
kind of puts his money where his mouth is. He'll take on anybody. I'd like to see more of that, but I am concerned. The golden age of boxing seems to have come and gone. I don't know if we'll ever see it again. MMA is dominating the scene with the UFC and everything they're putting on. So I don't know. And I asked that all to say, we even hear about Mike Tyson wanting to come back, and I really don't want to see, Mike and the Roy Jones thing.
I didn't watch that either.
I didn't watch it either. I agree, but I don't really want to see any more of that. And I guess I'm trying to find, and you being a professional, in the sports field,
Yeah.
where are our up and coming, heavyweights or just fighters, period? Because I don't see it. I don't see the landscape.
I don't look. Boxing has always been a sport of people coming from the mud, coming up out of nothing, across all backgrounds and cultures. It's always been that. And I think it always will be there as a way out for a lot of people, especially, people of color in the inner city. It always has been, and from all walks around this country, it absolutely has been. So I think it'll always be there. I wonder for younger kids, if they see YouTube stars fighting now, then it also makes them not respect the craft to even get into it and train the right way. You understand what I'm saying? So they're not going to go with somebody to go to a gym and really understand, because they're like, oh man, Jake Paul just said he wanted to get up and train for a couple of months, and then it's whatever. I mean, on the flip side, the argument people will make is like, well, Jake Paul fought Nate Robinson, who also didn't take it seriously, and he got knocked out. Jake Paul actually put a little bit more into his training, and Nate Paul didn't, which shows you Jake Paul, who isn't even a professional fighter, he just put a little bit of focus into what he did, and Nate Robinson disrespected the sport, and look what happened. Look what happened to him. That's the point I make. I think your point about where we're going in the future, Dane, that's concerning. I think there's got to be a fighter out there that has to be about the business. He's got to be, when I say about the business, I mean, he has to be about what you're talking about, which is, all right, I beat this person, next person up. Who's the next contender? Who's the number one contender? The part of the sport that bothers me probably even more than this BS fights that we're seeing is the ducking and these promoters not wanting to make the best fights. Fairly often do we get to actually see that. When's the last time you watched a fight that you really, really, truly was like, man, I wanted this fight? When with two boxers in their primes going at it and being like, this is a really good fight. We saw that fight with what was it? Lomachenko and who you fight? The Lopez dude.
Yeah, the Lopez dude. Yeah,
Teofimo Lopez. I like Loma. I think Loma's a fantastic fighter. Fantastic fighter. I love watching him. And this Teofimo Lopez kid, I've been watching him come up. So when they made that fight, Top Rank made that fight, and it was on ESPN, which I thought was fantastic for everybody to see. And it was a good fight. And Loma lost and Teofimo won. But it was a really good fight. Teofimo came on late. That was one where I was like, man, this is a good fight I want to see. Mayweather won Pacquiao. For years, we saw that dragged out. We got to see him late in their career where it wasn't the same as we wanted. All this ducking. People will come and watch if you make the good fights that we want. Right now, Terrence Crawford has that problem, right? He can't get the fight that we need to see him in. A lot of people, I think, want to see Spence fight him. That's the fight that needs to be made. Why hasn't it happened yet, Dame? You tell me. Politics, money, whatever it might be.
I agree.
That's the frustrating part. And I think it's going to take a fighter to not play the game and call it out and be willing to go. Now, I know how it works. A lot of these promoters dictate, say, wait, we'll have more interest. We'll have more money behind this. But you kind of need a fighter to say, look, man, screw all that.
Right.
Screw all that right now. Let's make it happen right now. I don't want. We're tired of this talk. After the match is over, somebody's like, "Hey, Deontay Wilder, you want to fight this person?" And it's like, "Yeah, I want to make it happen now." And then we wait 18 months before we even hear talk about contracts being drawn up. It's frustrating. The difference. You mentioned the MMA, Dave. You mentioned the MMA. I'm not an MMA guy. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
be clear on that. I'm
Mhm.
not an MMA guy. It's just not my thing. But MMA, the difference that they have is that they make the fights happen. The best people are fighting the best
Best
people.
people.
And to the MMA fans, that's beautiful for them because they're getting to see the best fights.
And that's
Boxing,
really
we don't get that.
and that's all and again, I'm with you. I'm not a big MMA fan, but I use that structure because it guarantees the fan
Yes.
their money's worth.
Yes.
And really, even there's been some MMA fights, they've been horrible matchups because style sometimes makes the fight. But
Mm-hmm.
you can pretty much guarantee with MMA you're going to get your bang for your buck, and that's all I really would like to see for boxing moving forward. So I'm gonna put the cap on it there. I'm gonna leave it
Yep.
right there,
We'll leave it there.
Dexter. I appreciate you, my brother, for
Oh
taking time
man.
out this evening for joining me, and joining our audience. You are amazing and spectacular. I appreciate all
Thank you,
that you're
man.
doing. Before we go, I want to ask you to go ahead and please, let our audience and let our listeners know where they can find you, where they can
Yes.
listen to you, where they can follow you. So please go ahead and take a moment to give all of that information to our audience.
Yeah, first of all, thank you to the audience for watching. You can follow me. You can see my Twitter handle right below at DHenryTV. That's on Twitter. It's on Instagram. Also, you can check out my YouTube channel, Backpack Broadcasting. That's backpack, like the backpack you put on. Broadcasting, that's my production company. I have a bunch of shows, Ain't Hard to Tell podcast, the NBA Exchange. Also done a long form series called Sideline Stories and the Sports Walk. I encourage everybody to check that out. Please support young Black and brown independent journalists and content creators. Just like my man Dame, we have to continue to do that. But that's where you can follow me, find me. And Dame, I just want to thank you for first of all reaching out, inviting me. It's a pleasure. I like what you're doing. I like the system. I like the look. I like the sponsors. I love you got your boys on here engaging and talking. That made it fun. So, keep doing what you're doing. I would be more than honored to come back on and chop it up with you again. So, brother, keep doing what you're
Oh
doing.
man,
I salute to you for that, and
man.
just keep grinding, man. We need
Yeah,
this.
definitely, my brother. I appreciate the respect and the love, man.
Yes,
I'm honored, to have someone as seasoned and veteran, as yourself in the field to spend some time with me. And I will definitely be reaching out to you in the future as we continue to, work on creating our content here and working on to, continue to grow this King's Corner. I will definitely be reaching out. Your wealth of knowledge, and your pleasure and your fun to have on. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching, make sure you go ahead and you follow this brother, Dexter Henry at the Henry TV and everything else that he has going on across his platforms. Before we close out, I want to take another second to make sure I do not miss our newest sponsors. I want to shout out DJ Coco Brown and Bubbles and Bruce Philly. As I always say, here on Two Mics Up, we support our small businesses. DJ Coco Brown, she go by her name is Chanel Brown. She's an experienced DJ providing both mobile and virtual musical services. She's based out of the Delaware, Philadelphia area, but she does travel. She's been here in the DMV and did some joints for me, what I'm saying, and our friends here. Check her out, DJ Coco Brown at Chanel.brown@gmail.com. And Bubbles and Bruce Philly, they based out of Philly. And this is a crazy experience that, it's the new thing. It's a vintage mobile Prosecco and craft bar. If you're looking to raise the bar and plan an unforgettable event, contact my friends at Bubbles and Brews Philly at philly@getcozybars.com. You can go back and check out an episode that we had with them. Shots up, Janelle and everybody over there at Bubbles and Brews. Love it. Check it out. I also want to be able to take a moment to thank, our marketing and branding team over at 94 Media House, giving you the design and look for Two Mics Up. We just opened up a brand new store, twomicsup.com. Again, we are here to support all small businesses. Follow Two Mics Up online at www.twomicsup.com. You can follow us across our social media, IG, Facebook, and Twitter, and now YouTube. Make sure you go ahead and hit that little subscribe button, hit the bell so you can get all new content from Two Mics Up. Check us out Monday with the all brand new episode. I'll be back with my co-host Elisa Middleton doing what we do, chopping it up, causing all types of shit and trouble. And like we always say here on Two Mics Up, stay safe, stay blessed. Mics out.